Hey, welcome to the Revenue Rainmakers show for 2025, where we're unpacking the secrets of the best agents, how they're going to scale their business in 2025. Lourdes, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So Lourdes, tell us about your business this year and what's your one thing to skyrocket sales in 2025?
So this year, I actually did less units than last year. I'm going to end up at about 190, but I had more volume and more GCI. My volume this year is going to be about 108 million compared to last year, which was 89 million.
So transactions 190, slightly down from last year, but volume up. Congratulations.
And GCI, which is the most important.
Right.
Well,
so what's your one thing to skyrocket sales in 2025?
So the one thing I realized this year is why didn't I do more and why weren't my profit margins higher is I realized that I needed to allocate one person to implement the strategies that are going to get me listings. My goal this coming up year is to be at 50-50, 50% listing, 50% buyers.
Yes.
I was at 70-30. So I
buy side to sell side.
Correct. So
That's a big imbalance.
I just hired Max, okay, and his job is going to be to execute 100% of everything that's on listingleads.com that Jimmy Mackin is sharing every single week.
So being very familiar with everything inside there, what does that look like for this kid, Max, and what resources is he going to receive from you to make it happen?
Well, he's going to receive obviously coaching, right? He's going to be doing all the coaching from Jason Pantana, Jimmy, and everything that we offer within the Tom Ferry organization. But he's basically going to focus on the deal of the week texts, the deal of the week emails, the expired letters. I've been doing it since March and I've had great results, but I haven't done it 100%. So I've done like 3 of the strategies, but not everything else. What I want to do right now is do absolutely everything else because I know it works. So why not go all in if I want listings?
So the thing that I'm hearing is it's kind of twofold. You're going to narrow your focus to more listing attraction, and you knew you couldn't do it on your own, so you hired someone. And then the second thing is you're going deeper, not wider.
Correct.
Right? Going deeper on what you know works, your database, conversion from your database, expireds as an example. So tell us about Max. What's his personality profile and how do you hold him accountable? What are you going to hold him accountable to?
So he's going to have metrics and his experience, he was a marketing coordinator for a company that was doing clothing and he was running ads and generating revenue from the clothes.
Yes.
So he's also very coachable. Okay. He's an analytical person.
Good.
His English is not great. It's like a level 8, but he is very resourceful. He knows how to use all the AI technology and that's really what matters.
Good.
And honestly, you want to know how much I'm going to pay him?
Tell us.
$1,000 a month.
Wow.
He's in Mexico.
Really, so thank you. So he's a virtual assistant. So let's break this down. $1,000 a month was 1,000 or 2,000 or 4,000 or 10,000 at the end of the day. How many people are inside your database?
24,000.
And what we know today is 6 to 8% of the people inside your database are going to put their home on the market. So we're talking about an enormous addressable market. And we know from the research that the average agent gets 1 listing and loses 3 to 5.
Yep.
So you're trying to close the loop on your database plus expireds. Is that what I'm hearing?
Correct. Yes. Plus expireds and implement on attorney campaigns that I'm going to be running that was on my plan but was never executed because I didn't have enough people or manpower to do it. The magic buyer letter, it worked for me this year, but I want to do more of it on the luxury side of it. Like any buyers that I have over 3 million, we will be sending out those letters.
Okay. So how is it going to work? Are you going to quarterback it? Is he going to quarterback it? Like, how does the relationship work to get this kid to execute across a database? Like, is he going to have access to the CRM? Is he going to have access to the email marketing solutions, your ESP inside? Like, help us understand that.
So that's a great question. Yes, he's going to have access to the CRM. He's going to have access to the newsletter systems that we use. He's going to have access to all the platforms and obviously listingleads.com. And I already created a task list of everything I need him to do and what he needs to study. And I have a full-time executive assistant. So he basically is going to report to her and I meet with her every single Monday. And then we're going to have goals every single week.
So take us through the funnel. So he starts to send emails. He starts to send out the letters. He's coordinating and quarterbacking. Basically, you're like, I'm just going to execute a massive amount of listing attraction marketing across your market and your database. Where do the calls go to? Where do the emails go to? Where do the DMs go to? Take us to that part of the funnel.
So part of his job is to do the engagement on the platform that they come in.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the calls, I have a specific phone number that we advertise when we
Mm-hmm.
do these campaigns. That actually goes to my assistant. If my assistant doesn't answer on the third ring, it goes to an answering service.
Got
I
it.
just hired that because I have missed phone calls and I hate
Yeah.
missing those. So that works perfectly fine as well. And then my job is I just want to show up for the appointment.
So do you think in 2025 with Max and this initiative at $1,000 a month, that's nothing. The cost of the mail, do you think your cost of mail will go up, remain the same? Will it be flat?
It will be about the same. I mean,
Okay.
I'm currently spending anything between 80 to 86 cents per direct mail piece.
Okay.
No.
All right. So if the cost remains the same, but you could be doing more is what I was thinking.
Correct. I need to do more because
Yeah.
I know it works. Like, why not go all in? And, another thing I'm doing is I'm not going to buy any more buyer leads. There's no point. If I get the listings, the buyers are going to come.
So it's 12 months from today. What do you expect from Max and this focus? What do you expect from this?
I expect to take and close 100 listings, which actually means I need to take about 140 of them. This year, 2024, I took 87 listings. I've closed 49 of them, and I have another probably 16, 17 that are going to be closing before the end of the year.
Okay.
Not enough.
Yeah. So it's about, take 10, sell and close 7, and then the balance carry over the next year or expire, cancel. All right. So we're talking about 100 listings sold in 2025.
That is a goal.
I love it. Thank you so much for sharing. So my question for you as you're watching this is, what's your big initiative for 2025? Let us know in the comments and follow this gal on social. We'll see you on the next show. So if you are looking for the secrets of what the very best are doing to skyrocket their sales in 2025, you're going to love today's show. So I've got my buddy Steve from Rovithis Homes. Here's a little context. 185 people in his team, Rich, about 1,000 transactions. So Steve, what's the one thing you're going to do to drive sales and performance in 2025?
We're really focusing on CRM mastery over the next 12 months.
What does that mean?
So I think we're leaving a lot of deals on the table with our agents. I think we found something like half of the business that we did was from leads that were over 6 months old.
Exactly.
So we got to dive deeper into these databases.
Yeah. We've been hearing this trend all day. Deeper, not wider. We don't need more leads. We need to get back into the pond. So there's a truth we talked about at the summit that the average agent lists a house and loses 3 to 5 because they don't go deep into their database. So specifically for the person watching, whether they're an individual agent or a team leader, teamerage like yourself, what is the discipline that you're taking on to make sure you capture more business?
We're really trying to dive in and make them show us. Right. So we've done a lot of training in the past where we tell them to do something. Now it's, hey, we're telling you to do this. Show us that you're doing it. So we're actually doing follow-up boss. That's our CRM. We're doing follow-up boss sessions where we ask them to pull up the last 10 leads that they've got. Right. And we'll go through those leads. And a lot of times those last 10 leads are in pretty good shape. Now show us the leads that are 30 days old.
Right.
Right. And we're just looking for little improvements. Hey, you know what? You are, you're missing this tag, right? You're missing this automation.
Yeah.
You called it a bunch of times. There's no text messages.
Right.
Right. So, trying to just look for little areas of improvement and then move on to the next lead. And, it started where our agents were nervous to show their leads. And at this point, I'm hearing from our trainers that they're raising their hands. Hey, will you look at my leads and see if I'm doing the right things?
So we've talked a lot over the last, call it 18 months to 2 years about this sort of, hey, let's audit our CRMs. But rather than in a one-on-one, you're doing it in a group setting, in a group training.
Yep.
What insight would you share for maybe the team leader watching, or again, that individual, like you talked about, hey, you've made a bunch of calls, but you haven't sent any texts. You haven't sent an email. You haven't maybe sent a video. What else besides what feels like for maybe you and I, the obvious, for the person watching, like, how much more can they do to extract more opportunities?
So I think the beauty of doing it in the group setting is everybody handles their leads a little bit different. And some of them are getting some wins on, a hook text that we've got, a template that we've got out there. But maybe somebody else actually pulls up the camera and is doing the video text and sending it off.
Right.
And so another agent that's on the call sees it and goes, you know what? I saw the response that you got on that lead. Right. So it's not all negative stuff. There are some great wins that are being shared because you might go through 10 leads and 8 of them are in really good shape.
Yeah.
It's just, hey, on these 2, why don't you try this or try that? Right. And then they might come back next week. Hey, I tried that and I won. Here's the response.
So I love that insight. The other one that you shared, and I think it's important for the listener, is we've been watching the numbers, for certainly the last 2 years. We went for a long time. Didn't matter what the lead source was, past client sphere, Zillow, Realtor, anywhere, right? It all was about 118 days on average to close. Today, that number looks closer to 180 to 190 days. So the sales cycles have gotten longer because of the cost of money, because of interest rates, et cetera. So what are you asking your people to do with those older leads, maybe specifically that you're finding is getting success?
So for us, got to have your automations. So that's got to start whatever those drip campaigns are from day one, if you can't get the lead on the phone. But then it's smart lists. Let's look for the hand raiser, right? Did they come back to our website? Did they view properties multiple times? So I think having smart lists, in combination with tasks, you can set all the tasks that you want. I love the smart list that just tells you, hey, these are the people to call today because they put their hand up.
Yeah. These people are looking at houses. Call them.
Call them.
I just made phone calls with my son, Steven, up in Hoboken. And I'm like, who are we going to call today? And he's like, who do you want to call? I'm like, give me the pond.
Yeah.
I want to go super cold. And then we went to the hand raisers. Hey, we saw you were just on.
Yeah.
We'd love to have a conversation about. So besides that, is there anything else that you're finding? And maybe it's just, Steve, we're just calling them. We're just trying to connect with them. Is there anything other insight you think is going to have a big impact for 2025?
I think we refer to it, they're ponds.
Yeah.
And we keep using the term, you're fishing. Right. So I've never been a fisherman. My son is like all of a sudden gotten into it with his hockey buddies.
Yeah.
And he's all about like this lure or that bait or this is so we kind of use that same analogy with our agents, right? You got to throw out different baits to see what they're going to bite on.
That's right.
So it could be video text for this one person. It could be a text where you start sending a property. Hey, I came across this property. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
It could just be an email with a home valuation. You don't know where they are in that buying cycle and what bait lure is going to work. So throw a bunch of stuff out and see what hits.
I think that's the key insight, because we get locked into one modality. We do the same thing over and over again, and sometimes it works, and then we keep doing it, but we see the numbers. You're getting one, you're missing 3 to 5. So from 1,000 transactions doing this discipline, what's your expectation for 2025?
I mean, this if we just focus on this one thing alone, this should be 25 to 30% increase. Okay. I truly believe we're leaving that much on the table. And we've started to use some of these other partners like a fellow where they put it right in front of you and go, you missed all of these, dummy.
Right.
Yeah. So
fellow, reevaluate, doing these CRM audits. I love it. So Steve, this has been a valuable, quick insight. If somebody wants to reach out, ask you another question, we've already flashed your Instagram. Is there a better way to reach you if they want to talk?
No, Instagram's going to be the best way. Message me there. You can just go to my website, steverovithis.com. You can hit me up there. Happy to share. This has been a great ecosystem. I've learned a ton and happy to give back to anybody that's watching this one.
Love it. All right. So what's the action you're going to take? And give us your comments below on what Steve's sharing. We'll see you on the next show. Hey, welcome back to the Revenue Rainmakers show. I'm Tom Ferry, your host. We're going to unpack real estate agents' best secrets and hacks to grow in 2025. Today, I've got Luke Sadie over there in the corner who doesn't want to be on video. So 250 transactions, 15% market share, north of $1 million in the St. Augustine marketplace where they sell, with about $135 million in volume. Number one sales team in the area. So Luke, what's your one thing? Like, what's the one thing, if you could just wave a magic wand and get everybody to focus, what would it be?
Sure. Thanks for having me. Super big treat. It's been a lot of fun today.
Yeah.
The one thing, there's a multitude, but honestly, it's so cliche. Knowing my market cold.
Yeah.
I mean, truly, we could go for a drive and take you through all the neighborhoods and talk about who sold it, who bought it, where they're from, what type of financing they did on the deal, the title company that closed it. Like, I'm obsessed with knowing that kind of stuff.
Yes.
And knowing your market cold, just being super obsessed of being that go-to knowledge broker.
So everybody talks about being the knowledge broker. So I have 3 questions for you. What is your study process? How do you recall it all? Because it's a lot of information because you have a big market.
Yes.
And then most importantly, how do you get the word out so you're not the best kept secret in your market?
Okay. So
what do you
last
study?
one, there's probably some work to do there. The first one, the MLS. I mean, I get to the office around like 8 to 8:45. I am in the MLS. I'm looking at
45 minutes
every day. I mean, even embarrassingly on the weekends.
Yes.
So I'm in the MLS. I'm just like, okay, that deal closed. Why wasn't I a part of that? Because that's my market.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, these 2 agents did it. I'll maybe reach out to one of the agents. I love agent to agent business.
Yes.
Really
Yes.
value those relationships in the marketplace, especially getting off market deals.
Right.
And I'll just say, hey, congrats on that sale. Where was the buyer?
Yeah.
Where was the buyer from? Why did they sell? What's going on?
Yeah.
And to me, nerding out, it's fun.
Yeah.
And I can just easily remember it because
Right.
that's important to me.
Yes.
And when I get in front of a client or a potential buyer, a potential seller, and I get to talk like that and it just flows off and we let it rip, there's no notes that I'm shuffling around.
Yeah.
I walk in, I know what the price is. I can talk about all the deals and why they sold, how they sold. And if they're using a comp that's not a good comp, I can break it down like, hey, it's because of this is the lot size and this was the frontage on the water and it had these finishes and it was built in then. And then they're like, oh yeah, right. Mine's 20% less. That makes sense.
So it's interesting, and I know you'll appreciate this, when I look at like you or like a Tim Smith that I mentioned, Jill Biggs, some of these people that are just like, their memory seems like it's extraordinary for all these deals. And then I remind people, memory's just intent.
Yeah.
Like if I said to you, hey, I want to buy a $25 million oceanfront and my number is 8675309, people remember that number.
I'm going to remember that. That
know
hook,
what I mean?
that price point hooks you a little bit.
1000%. So memory is intent.
Yeah.
So your study is 45 minutes in front of the MLS. And I hear a lot from many of the same people that truly do this. Is there something you're looking for though inside the MLS beyond I missed this transaction?
Yeah. I'm looking to pull data for when I get in front of somebody where I want them to do what I know is best for them. Not a trick, but it's like, okay, average days on market in a specific neighborhood on the island, but then you go to the neighborhood and you're like, hey, on the island, average days on market's 90. Your neighborhood's 150, right? And then you take it a step further. Then I looked at what sold over $1 million in your neighborhood and the average days on market actually dropped by 30%.
Yeah.
And the one thing I noticed about those homes over $1 million is that homes that were built, say, in 2015 and newer sold 5 times faster for 20% more versus homes that were 2015 and older. And you can break that down. And it's like, when I sit down at a listing appointment, my number one objective is to give them as much information as possible for them to make that decision. It's always a partnership for us, right? But they have more equity. I'll say, hey, I'm going to give you my number first. So I don't have anything skewed, but I'll list it for whatever you want within reason. And I say, with all of this information, what do you think is going to happen?
Do you say that to clients? This is a partnership. You just have more equity.
The first, yes.
That is such a great line. That is such a great line.
My favorite thing to say at a listing appointment.
Yeah.
Conflict arises when expectations differ. What are your expectations in this partnership?
Yeah.
And then they don't usually know what to say. Right. They love the question. And then you kind of reverse engineer. It's like, hey, I'm going to give you all this information that I have. I think it's really valuable. And when it's all said and done, this is a partnership. You've got more equity than me. So you're going to make the decision on price. But I want to make sure I give you enough information so that we're educated together.
I love it. Just watching you, I could see that you said that like 1,000 times.
Every day.
Yeah, every day, all day. So I want to go to the third question, which is, sort of the, land the plane and then expand from there. But I want to back up for a second. I believe that there's two kinds of great agents, right? When it comes to their listing presentation. I watch some that really, that they're fanatical and they're really good at like, let me show you, let me explain. And then I put you in a different category. I put Tim in a different category. It's a conversation. He can literally say, I can show you every home that's sold that's like yours in the last 6 months, 3 months, whatever, 8 years, whatever it is. And this is basically what it's going to sell for and how we're going to get the job done. Well, they're both good, but it's a very different presentation.
You want to talk about what they want to talk about.
Right.
That's why I asked that expectation question. Because then we can pivot and talk about whatever you want to talk about.
100%.
And the one thing, everybody I definitely sell a lot in the luxury market, but I am not, you look at me, you're like, I've got drawstrings on my pants. You know what I mean? It's not that
it's Florida,
flex,
buddy. It's Florida.
But when all of the money attracts to the knowledge.
Yes.
We control a huge amount of the high-end listings and we do a lot of the high-end deals. Yeah. We get to sell Tom Petty's house this year. It's the highest sale ever, residential on the island.
How much?
It's $5,050,000.
Yeah.
It's a huge sale for the island.
Right.
But people that have that information, they really value it.
100%. Again, I don't care what the price point is. I think at every price range, if Edna Kimball was here, who in the room today, I'll sell 265 listings. She's like, every seller cares about one thing, their net and how well are you going to help me, how fast are you going to help me get there, or are you going to be effective in it? So let's go to the third one. How are you getting the word out? Because otherwise you might be the best kept secret in St. Augustine.
I think I am.
Tell us about it. Tell us, what are you thinking?
I don't have a full strategy of like, hey, this is what we do. But I've been really good with consistently putting out. If you follow the loop.newcomer account on Instagram, I try to put one piece of content out every single day that's informative, right? That's talking specifically about our market.
Yes.
And then we have great marketing team. I don't know what they do. Pay them good money. They've got Google Analytics.
Sadie does.
Sadie knows exactly what they're doing.
Yes.
So they're covering a lot of that. So by the time we walk, like if I walk into a house or a team walks into the house, like, oh, the Newcomer Group, like you see your signs everywhere.
Yeah.
So I don't have like a, what am I doing? I could be better.
Yeah.
I'd be interested in what your advice would be.
I have all kinds of thoughts, but I'm going to save that and we'll talk about it later after the show. So let's recap. You got to be the knowledge broker. You got to study the MLS for 45 minutes. You got to look for the nuances. That's what I'm hearing. Like the subtle, and it could even be the nuances of your current listing that's on the market, or it could be the one you're about to go meet with, in a week.
It's good for price reductions.
Wonderful.
Sit down. It's really good for price reductions. And you can take that data, screenshot it from the MLS, put it into ChatGPT and say, I want the information to break down to X, Y, and Z, and hit enter. And then it's like, oh, that looks pretty good. You might want to fix a couple things, but like that saves a lot of time.
Big time.
And it will format it so nice so that by the time you give it in front of your client, it's like they know what they need to do with that information.
Right. What do you say to the person that actually thinks you're in a small market, so it's easier for you? You're not in a small market, right?
It's small. The more narrow you get, it's a pretty competitive market and it's small. But so what's the question on that exactly? What do you say
to the person that says, my market's too big, Luke? It's hard for me to study the entire market that way.
I think that you should pick a couple neighborhoods first and then let that compound.
Yeah.
Because you can learn the whole market, you learn the whole country.
Yes.
But I always started with, where do I want to be selling?
Yes.
And that was always Anastasia Island. So I just obsessed on the data there.
Yes.
And then you realize those deals flow into different markets and you start getting to know them and know them.
Yeah.
And I think if you just study every day, it might be boring for some people. I love it. I wish I could do that all day instead of everything else. The more you study that, it just compounds and it compounds. And it's like, you know your market cold and you can walk and talk to anybody about any property. So
if a person watching right now took this on and said, I'm going to dedicate 45 minutes a day to study the market, I'm just obsessing over knowing it better than anybody else, what kind of lift should they expect in their business in 12 months?
I told my team I have a guaranteed platform to make $250,000 a year every year, but you got to do it.
Yeah.
It's 10 things. I can share it with you if you want to share it out.
Go.
I probably can't dive into all of this.
Give us a riff.
But the first one was know your market cold. Just study it 45 minutes a day. It's all you got to do.
Yeah.
5 days a week. It needs to be 50 calls, a minimum a day, or have 5 meaningful conversations to get there. Call it the 5-5-4-2 rule. It's 5 conversations, 5 follow-up, 4
5 new, 5 old,
I just wrote this out.
4 follow-up.
Yeah, and then 2 social posts, whether it's on your story or putting it out.
Yes.
One open house a week.
Yeah,
that's where they won't do it, but one open house a week, and that way, when you're in that open house, like learn that neighborhood. So when people walk in, toy the off-market opportunities. We have a ton of off-market opportunities. I'd have to see that list. It was very simple. There was no tech involved. There was no ChatGPT. There was no TikTok dancing. It was like. It was like 10 simple things. If you just do it 5 days a week.
Know your market, 5-5-4, and open houses. You know who would be really stoked with what you just said? Tim Smith.
He's a great agent.
Because he follows the same exact plan.
I took a lot of nuggets from him.
I love it. Hey, well, Luke, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Appreciate it.
Make sure you follow this guy on Instagram because he's putting out some killer content. I study him all the time out there. So, hey, what's the one thing you're going to do in 2025 that's going to move the needle and drive revenue? Let us know in the comments.
Creating a detailed business plan is like building a launch pad. No matter where you are in your business, we have a plan for you. It's time to lock in your trajectory for a successful 2025. Your business plan is waiting for you at tomferry.com.
Today I've got Landon with me. Landon, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much.
So for context, 225 transactions in Charlotte, North Carolina, about $80 million in volume, driving a big sales team. But we were talking off camera about what are the most important things that this person and your best agents, what are the 3 things they're doing to drive performance in 2025? Talk to us.
100%. So the biggest thing we're focusing on right now is if you're not spending at least half your time prospecting for sellers, you're making a mistake. A lot of people.
That's a big ask.
It is a big ask. And it's also a big ask for people right now that are internet lead based. And that's actually where we were too. I mean, we have a ton of Zillow Flex leads coming in, Realtor.com, Google pay-per-click. But we are working with our top agents. And if you're not prospecting for listings half the time, you're missing out on a huge opportunity. A lot of people right now think that listings aren't as good as they were 2 years ago, 3 years ago when interest rates were low.
Right.
I actually think about it as the opposite, because if your sign is in the yard for 3 weeks, it gets a cash offer and you're done, you got no sign calls, no open house opportunities, no circle prospecting opportunities.
No open houses,
but
no
if you're,
marketing.
But if you're building a huge listing inventory, I don't care if they sell or not immediately. It's giving you extra time to have your name, face, number in a yard, getting buyer calls. And that, in my opinion, will drive to a lot more business than having a listing 3 years ago.
So you have all these great agents on the team, with 40 salespeople on the team. You got a bunch of top producers, and you're saying spend half your time prospecting. That's gotta not go over really well for these busy veteran agents. So break it down more. That's my hallucination.
Yeah.
Break down more specifically. What are you asking them to do for the listener watching right now? What are the prospecting habits or rituals or campaigns that you're asking them to do, and what's working?
Before I go into that, I think you have to tell them why it's important. First of all, if you're never going to get action out of any agent unless they know why.
Yes.
And if you can tell them the why right now is you're going to build a bigger brand and you're going to build passive business.
Yes.
Zillow leads are great. Go to the house, show it, convert it. Great. Yeah. But that's not passive business as building your brand where you can get 3 or 4 more listings in the neighborhood.
Absolutely.
So what we're asking them to do, I think the biggest opportunity right now, as we see more inventory building, homes being mispriced the first time, that's the biggest thing I see. Homes are being mispriced, expireds and withdrawals.
Yes.
For sale by owners a little bit, but if you can just, and I tell my agents, just focus on 2. If you can just focus on 2 lead sources, don't pick, I'm going to circle dial and if you pick 6 things, you're not going to master any.
Don't dabble in this, don't dabble in that. Like pick 1 or 2 lanes and attack.
Pick 1 or 2 and do it well. And if you're pushing into expireds and withdrawals right now, you're going to have a lot of luck.
Okay, so I think that everyone listening, this person right now knows if they just got on the phone more, even with their own database, they 100%. Could close the loop on the 6 to 8% they're going to put their home on the market. And if you don't, it's okay because someone else will reach them.
Yeah. And I would also throw video and email marketing in there. If you're not emailing your database with your face and your name at least once a week, you're going to miss the listing opportunities.
Yes.
They're in your database. They're there, whether it came in from your sphere or a buyer lead or whatever it is. That's a big one too.
I love it. What's number 2?
So the second thing I'm really and this may not be for every team. Some people are letting go easier than others. But the biggest thing that I have to work with my top producers on is letting go of the half of the transaction that they don't have to do.
What does that mean?
If you have like in our company, we have a transaction coordinator for everybody. And if you're not letting them do their job, you're still writing contracts, you're still negotiating repairs, you're missing out on probably 30% more business. And 30% more business for some people may not make a lot of difference. But if you want 30% more business, quit doing the little peddly stuff. That's probably the biggest thing that we're working on our agents with.
Just getting back to leverage, right? It's time,
100%.
Time and capacity. Go serve more clients. We'll handle the back end.
Yeah.
What's number 3?
This may be a little bit controversial, but
bring it on.
We're using touring agreements. I don't know if a lot of your teams are using touring agreements, but only
touring agreements versus a straight
buyer agency, buyer consultation
yes.
on the front end, especially if you're a heavy internet. If it's your sphere, get the buyer agency signed every time. But if you're going into a house saying, "Hey, come to my office, do a buyer consultation," you're not meeting the consumer where they are.
Right.
But I also have a caveat to that. Don't take that too far. After the first or second meeting, you'll build rapport with them. Always get the buyer agency signed because some of our agents have gotten burned with that too.
It's a 1-2 punch.
1-2
right?
punch.
Give the
100%.
customer what they want, especially if we're talking Google leads. You could even argue a referral unless you get the opportunity to meet with them face-to-face, one-on-one. If they're like, "Hey, you told me, Hector, you showed me this house. Great. Let me go show you the house.
Yeah.
You need to sign this agreement. Great." And then you do the buyer brokerage agreement.
One house is fine. Companies give away free trials for a reason. Right?
100%.
Get you hooked, and then the rest, they have your credit card information.
So,
right?
so just, I love that. So to recap, it is, you need to be spending half your time on the phones,
yeah.
and do not underestimate getting your face on video or in some way, shape, and form in front of your entire
Your
database.
database needs to see it.
Right? Every single week. What was number 2 again?
The second one is let go of half the transaction.
Yes.
And
Yes.
if you're a budding top producer, that's probably your biggest struggle. And a lot
Right.
of great agents have the same affliction where they just hold everything so tight, and that's not always the best way to do business.
100%. And then the number 3 thing is if you're working internet leads, it's sign to see it and then buyer brokerage agreement.
Yeah.
I love it, Landon. So what is your hope for all your top producers? What kind of lift should they expect from executing on what it is you're discussing with them?
I think as we build a bigger listing inventory and days on market go up a little bit, that's what's happening in our market. I know markets are different.
Sure.
Some are hotter than ours, although that's kind of hard to imagine. Our market's
Charlotte's
still
pretty
hot.
crazy. Yeah.
You know, I think you were talking earlier, Southern California is like the higher price is like they're chopping pretty low.
You're seeing way more price reductions. You're seeing days on market. Like it wouldn't shock me in certain price ranges if agents actually started taking 1-year listing agreements.
Wow. Yeah.
And again, not every market, not every community, not every house, but the vast majority of them, that seems to be the direction we're going.
Yeah. But to answer your question, a 30% lift is what we're trying to go for here.
Love it. So make sure you follow Landon on Instagram or your favorite social channel. And then what's your one thing for 2025? What have you learned? I want to see it in the comments. Thanks so much for watching. Hey, welcome to the Revenue Rainmakers show, where we unpack the secrets of agents who want to skyrocket their success in 2025. Welcome to my guy, Riley from Miami. We just talked off camera. If you're looking for a way to lose $37 million in commissions in 1 year, you're going to love today's show. So Riley, unpack, what is the one thing you guys are focusing on, and why would I say you guys lost $37 million in commissions?
So database. It all started at Summit, where you kind of got our attention when you were just starting to sprinkle that out there in the ecosystem. So we just thought for fun and kicks and giggles, we'd send it over to evaluate. And yeah, we had 60,000 emails. So that was our database. Came back with 18,000 addresses, and lost commission last year, $37 and change million.
So hold on, let's unpack this. So you have now you've been a digital marketer, a blogger forever. You're in a place where it always makes sense, but it's made a ton of sense for you, right? Not to buy a bunch of leads, but instead you're like a massive content provider. But you had 60,000 people in the database. 18,000 with actual mailing addresses.
Right.
Do you remember the phone number?
Oh no, we had like 3,000 phone numbers.
And 3,000 phone numbers. So for the person listening, what he has is a giant email newsletter database.
We email blast every day.
And for context, he's at 160 transactions with $400 million closed and pending. So it's not like he's some schleppo. You went to reevaluate. You let them do their magic to figure out how your database was graded. So now everybody has the level set. So what are you guys going to do differently in 2025 to close the loop and stop losing so much money?
Yeah, we just, we went all in on database. I think database is our number 1, 2, and 3 priority this year.
Yes.
So, I mean, we sort of researched all the tech and listened to most of your recommendations. We did hire Reevaluate to give us the score every day, so we know where to start attacking. We got Fellow to do the drip. We hired an ISA and put him focusing just on making those calls. And then now we know we know they're reading our emails. Now we know where to live. So now we can layer on all of our marketing and direct pieces of mail.
Right.
So it's really right there for the picking for us. I mean, it's crazy. After 25 years, I haven't really thought about this before.
Well, what's so exciting is you have such a robust business, and then to realize how much money. I mean, 37 million. What's the volume lost on? It's more than 400 million.
It's more than 400 million. Yeah.
So just to unpack for the person, you and I speak the same language. You had your database analyzed by Reevaluate. They can then, for like 4 cents, I don't own this company. Man, I want to own this company because it's just,
and they've been great to work with. I mean, across the board.
4 cents per contact if they can get you the accurate address.
Right.
So it's worth the
couple $1,000.
Yeah, $4,000 or whatever to now shore it up.
We paid somebody else to get us the phone numbers because they don't get phone numbers for you. So then we have a full 18,000, all contacts, names, addresses, and everything. So that's sort of, there's the playbook. Just attack that.
So we would call that like multimodality. Like, so now I can touch them in text. I can touch them in email. I can touch them in direct mail. I can make a phone call. So obviously you're texting, you're emailing, you're calling. Did you take your entire email list? Did you add it into, for example, Meta or Alpha to be able to run, like Alphabet, like Google, to be able to run ads to all those people?
No, we haven't done that yet, but that's that's on the marketing list. So it's one of the things. I think we just want to try to touch them now. Most of them, that 18,000 is in my farm, which is great because we have a big brand there, and we've been doing business there for a very long time. But the digital part, I think that's where we've been missing out a little bit. And now being able to curate our mailings. We've been mailing forever, but they're not one mailing for everybody. Now we know they live in a condo, live in a house where they live.
Right.
So it's going to be a little easier to really laser in on the marketing to them.
So I think the other big insight so we were in a mastermind meeting recently, and I think one of the big insights is personalization. Yeah. That when you can personalize the marketing message to, as a condo high-rise owner, versus as somebody that lives on the water or somebody that lives in Coral Gables, the more you can narrow it down, you're speaking directly to them versus like, hey, homeowner.
Yeah, and my market probably has 10 of those, right?
Exactly.
From the very high end to the smaller condos to, waterfront gated communities, all that stuff. So being able to sort of spread out the database and really be more targeted. And it also makes phone calls easier and makes everything easier when you
100%.
know that. So we're excited. I mean, that's the one component we've never been able to give the team. Like we kill culture. We really, I think, service the team super well.
Yes.
But if we can just hand everybody on our team, we have 35 agents. Here's another 100 opportunities this year.
Right.
I mean, we're shooting for 800 million out of the database next year. That's our goal.
Yes.
And I think we can hit it. I mean, it's right there.
The interesting thing is, so I agree 100%. This is a bet that I would make with you because I think if you go beyond email, you now call, you're doing the mail, you start texting. Just the Zillow, imagine just the Zillow Zestimate. Hey, Riley, I was on Zillow the other day looking at your home. I think it's worth more. What do you think? Like just that to the 60,000 people that we know 68% are going to sell.
Yeah, it's the number's pretty staggering.
You might need
so
to
we're excited. And I think we've pushed pretty much all of our other initiatives off to the side. I don't think of anything we can do that could really change the business any faster than that.
So one of the consistent things that have been coming out in this, this sort of like, how do we dramatically increase our revenue, become more of a rainmaker, is everybody's saying the same thing. I need to narrow my focus. I need to go deeper, not wider. Right. And whether it's my database or expireds on my farm, it doesn't, but it's go deep. Yeah. Is that the message?
Yeah. And you talked about this in the mastermind, the funnel, right? At the top of the funnel, and we buy Google ads and they all go in the top of the funnel. And then at the bottom, the brand, hey, come list me, come buy me. Yeah. Those are easy. The middle's been sitting there and we've never touched it. And it's just like, we never touched it. So
this is what it looks like to lose $37 million in commissions in 1 year, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. So Riley, if they wanted to connect with you on Instagram, we'll show your Instagram handle. If somebody wants to ask you a question to go deeper, right? Can they reach out to you?
Oh, please. I mean, I'm on my phone 24/7 like all of us.
I love it. And he's wearing flip-flops, ladies and gentlemen.
Welcome from Miami.
Welcome to Miami.
Absolutely.
All right. So he's going deeper into his database and he cleaned it up with Reevaluate. He's going to start texting, doing more than email, making phone calls and direct mail. What are you going to do in 2025 to make sure it's an extraordinary year? Let me know in the comments. Today, I've got friend, coach, and client Meredith Fogle in the house. So Meredith, sitting at, call it 65 transactions, $90+ million in volume. What is the most important thing to skyrocket sales in 2025?
This will be no surprise to you, Tom, because you know me well. But for me, it is leveraging listings to create more opportunities at scale with greater efficiency and a higher level of conversion.
So leveraging more listings to create more listings efficiently with great conversion.
Yeah.
Everybody wants that. What the heck are you talking about? Unpack that.
Well, I will tell you, and I'm actually going to share a tool that we've been using with really good success since we adopted it relatively recently. So for me, what that means, and I've always been a listing focused agent. And I told this story at Summit from a very early stage in my career. I realized listings where all the leverage was. And when you can lean into listings, you can create more listings from those listings. Yes. But what I had never really been able to get my hands around was how to do that at scale. Yes. We were doing all the traditional things that agents do, the viral listing launch, scaling you guys
not everybody does a viral listing launch.
Maybe not. Right. Okay. Yes.
But put it in the MLS, do an open house, send a just listing card, maybe send a just sold card.
Right. Most people do that. There's another level to that, which is the whole viral listing strategy. But how do we get in front of more listing opportunities and specifically in front of more hand raisers? Because that was really what we wanted. The problem we wanted to solve was, there's there's the 5Ds or 7Ds really of real
Yes,
estate, right?
yes.
We can figure out who the more high intent leads are, but how do you do that
Yes.
while still being able to keep your eye on the prize of servicing your clients and creating more transactions? So for us, we started to focus explicitly on what was going to create more listings. And if we couldn't answer yes to the question, will this create more listings? It was kicked out of our list.
Narrow the focus
Very specifically. So what we also realized, and this is something I heard years ago in real estate, and I really believe this, is that we are in real estate in the lead generation business, specializing
Yes.
in real estate. So when we have the opportunity as team leaders to teach our agents to hunt and kill, right? That I think creates career longevity for them. And I think one of our key accountabilities as team leaders is to rainmake,
Yes.
to create leads, listing leads
opportunities,
specifically,
yeah.
and to help our agents learn to do that. So when we kind of saw all of these big arbitrage competitors coming onto the scene, and some of our friends and some of our competitors running like a herd that direction, I tend to kind of be a little contrarian when it comes to things like that. I tend not to see like a, Halcyon Field on that other side. I tend to see slaughter. So I run the other direction when I can. And I'm trying to always see like where's the business going? Where is the puck going? And you are so great at helping us keep our eyes on that. So I just kind of pivoted the other direction. And I said, okay, I don't want to go there. Those are all buyer focused. Nothing wrong with working with buyers. But what we know is when we have listings, we organically spawn buyer business. So why don't we just focus on listings? So that's where we went with that. And then this year we got introduced to this tool, Fellow, which is what I want to talk about today and share with you guys. So we started using Fellow in mid-July. And like many of my friends in the real estate industry and many of the clients that I coached, we started it with a lot of skepticism because we had diminishing returns, let me put it that way, with the other lead generation platforms that we had paid for.
Like specifically like email drip campaigns or lead generation.
No,
platforms.
like pay to play or arbitrage where they're taking a chunk of your fee for the leads that they handed you. And the leads seem to get lower and lower in quality. So and we were just spending more and more with less and less return.
Higher CAC, lower profit, screw that.
Exactly right. Yeah. So we heard about Fellow and I thought, and we had heard of a couple of other team leaders in the ecosystem who were using it and having some success. So I said, let's check it out. We gave them a call. They called us back. We had a call with their sales team. And one thing that impressed me right off the bat was the sales team were like techie guys.
Yeah.
And I asked them a million technical questions and they answered all of them. I asked them how they were coming up with their algorithm and it was different from what other companies were doing. And it was purely listing focused. So those two things, I thought, okay, let's give it a shot. One of the other things I really liked about it was that it was a relatively like low commitment for entry. They clearly believed in their product because they were like, come in at the lowest level, try it, see if it works for you.
Yeah. Give us a small number of email accounts. And then you can build from there if you like it.
Exactly right. Yeah. So like any other lead gen system, you have to work it. It isn't magic. It doesn't magically turn, listings into your business, but it does if you work the system properly.
It's hand raisers. All we need is hand raisers so that we know who to reach out to.
That's exactly it at a really, really high level. So what I want to share is the numbers on this. So listen to this. And I wrote this down. So let me turn the page and just show you what I tell you
Big
what
shout
I brought
out to
here.
Ryan, who is the founder of this company. He's a good friend. I get to see him often. We talk all the time. I'm not an investor in this company. I actually passed on investing in this company. Can you believe that? Ryan, cut me back into the deal. All right.
That's fine.
So give us the numbers.
Okay, so we started out by loading just under 1,000 leads or contacts from our database. They're all on our farm into Fellow. And I always said, whenever I look at my farm and see somebody else who takes a listing, I immediately look at who is the person.
Right.
And if I don't know them, I'm like, that's on me, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if I can know 1,000 people in my farm. I know a lot of them, but I always say if we haven't had what I call significant interaction with the person, we're less likely to be able to get them to know, like, and trust us. So how could we create more significant interaction? Well, being a knowledge broker is one way. Telling people what they have gained in terms of equity in their properties is another way. And that's where, like, the CMA a day, the ZMA strategy that's in 100K in 100 days works really, really well. So again, like, how can we scale that and how can we get it in front of more hand raisers, like you said? And that's what Fellow has helped us to do. So 1,000 people loaded in, they all get emails. The initial open rate was about 15% for the Fellow email. Of those 1,000, 52 came back as leads. And when Fellow gives us leads, it is a combination of engagement and what they call propensity score. And that's based on, actually, it's now they call it lead score, but that's based on this algorithm that they use. So of those 52, we created CMAs, like our own custom CMA, not a cloud CMA, one that we actually manually make adjustments for, sent it to those 52. Of those 52...
How did you deliver it?
Email. Okay, and I'm going to share the email, like the exact email with you. Emailed it. Of those 52, we had a 98% open rate.
That's big.
I know, 98%. And on average,
Was there a subject line specifically? I'm nerding out on the 90%.
What was the subject line? I think it was your updated home valuation.
Okay.
Yeah, super simple. And of those emails, it was on average 2.5 times per person open rate. So they're looking at it sometimes like 5 to 7 times. Yeah. So here's the
That's
email.
Called high propensity to sell.
Right, exactly.
Right? It's not just one off. Oh, okay, cool. It's like, oh, honey, what do you think? Do you think we could?
Yes.
And would this be enough money for us to? And okay,
right.
So keep going.
Yep. Okay. So here's the email. I'm going to read it to you so you guys can R&D it if you want to.
Yes.
So it's, I reviewed the automated valuation for your home our system created, and it looked to me like it needed some fine tuning. I've completed a more in-depth personalized analysis for you. Based on the attached study, the current value appears to be in the some number to some number range, depending on condition and updates. I'll give you a call in a few days to walk you through the analysis, to answer any questions you have, and to get your thoughts about the value. Please feel free to reach out to me anytime as well. So that's the email that goes out. Now, that email had the 98% open rate.
Yeah.
The multiple open rate. And it didn't matter. This was what was really interesting too. It didn't matter whether it really needed fine tuning or not.
Yeah.
We fine tuned it a little bit most of the time. But these, again, were people who were clearly engaging, clearly high propensity. So, and this was also creating opportunity with people we didn't know. There was a huge number of people in that 52 that I'd never met.
Yes.
Never any kind of significant engagement with whatsoever. And all different times of, years in the house, all different demographics. So there wasn't anything, if I had looked at it, that I could have like pinpointed, oh yeah, that person's going to sell their house within the next couple of years. So did that and then set a task to call to follow up. Of those follow-ups, and I'll give you the script that I called with in just a second. Of those follow-ups, we created 7 appointments right off the bat. We have activated 4 of those appointments so far. And we also, and this was a really cool kind of story, I called one that I did know who had told me that they were 2 years off the last time I talked to them, which wasn't that long ago from selling. So I call, I got her on the phone and she's like, it's so weird that you're calling me because we just decided that this house has too many stairs for us and we actually are going to go ahead and do the downsize within the next couple of months. I'm like, it is so weird that I'm calling you, right?
You're like, of course it's weird. Hello, fellow.
Right? Sold that house off market in a couple of days for far more than they ever expected to get.
Yes.
And that just closed last week. So, I mean, thank you.
So 52, 7 of them were like, okay, we're ready. And like we know, it's like you and I both know, sellers are earned. Buyers, it's a little bit easier with the buyer versus sellers. And typically they're an 18-month from the time they start to the time they actually activate.
Correct.
So you're finding a bunch of people that are in your database that are obviously inside of that window.
Yes.
How many of the 52, well, of the 7 you guys have met with, or the 4 you said you activated, how many listings do you think you'll take? We're sitting here at the end of October. You're in a marketplace where it's not uncommon for people to wait to the spring market. What's your forecast from this?
Well, right now I have 3 more appointments set up, 1 on Tuesday and then 2 more on Saturday from drips, because now here's the next piece of this. When you don't get the person on the phone, you put them into a drip campaign. Now we use listing leads for this and we use some kind of we usually look at the weekly action plan and pick something that feels compelling to this group, plug them in, and then they reach back out to us. And it's not we're interviewing agents. It's a come list me call.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, because you're speaking directly to, it's personalization, like we talk about in marketing, personalization. All right. So this is pretty interesting. How many total people do you have in your database? I know you put 1,000 in. What's the total size of the database?
The full database is like 42,000 people.
So do you, like, what are you going to do? You're going to put all 42,000 in? Or that feels like you could be overwhelmed with opportunity.
Yes.
Or like Riley, who was just interviewed and he lost $37 million because he's not doing this stuff in commissions. What are you going to do?
Here's the thing. What we're doing is training agents to take more of these leads and to follow this exact scripting to create more opportunities. So I'm a very hyper-local geo farmer, and I only want to farm right in my little area. But we have other agents on the team, and we're bringing more on now. In fact, we just had one join us who farms in a different area, giving him this formula, loading his database in. Yes. And to answer your question, yes, we are loading more sections of our database in now, but this is what's great. Like our initial spend was, I think, $2,000. The ROI on that is 9 times.
I know.
I mean, huge opportunity here.
Yes.
So we're going to just land and expand on this strategy because it's working.
You know, those are some of my favorite words in marketing: land and expand.
It's working. Yeah.
So the insight is you're sitting on a ton of listings, and as deep as you go, you weren't going deep enough to scale at the level that you wanted. It's like we talked about earlier today, whatever will be automated should be automated. And Fellow is automating those email communications to find the hand raisers, high propensity to sell. And this feels like a massive Fellow promotion, but it is and it isn't.
I mean, I'm genuine. I can't help it because it really has helped us that much. Now, I will say, for people who are out there who are like, I don't have $1,000 or $500 a month or whatever it is at the initial spend to invest in this right now, apply this strategy to your CMA a day, your ZMA a day. Use it on your database. Use it on your sphere of influence. Plug into this because it works. It works.
So what do you forecast the impact of this will be for 2025?
We forecast that we are going to double our number of listings in 2025, at least from this.
Yes.
And for recruiting, we think it's going to be a huge recruiting tool as well. And we're in a position to grow right now. So it's huge impact.
I love it. So she's used Fellow to go deeper into a small segment of her database to already attract 52 high propensity to sell, already has 4 appointments, already double ended off market. One transaction
One closed
already
so far. Yes.
With a 9x ROI. I would say that's a really good thing for you to take a look at. So big shout out to Fellow and Ryan and the crew over there. We're proud of what you do. Thank you guys. What are you going to do in 2025 to raise the bar and raise revenue? That's the question. Would love to see it in the comments. Meredith, if they want to reach out and go a little deeper, because you're super analytical with this and I love it. You've seen her on stage with me at Summit and other podcasts. Is it okay if they reach out to you on Instagram?
Of course. Yeah. It's Meredith at the List Realty on Instagram. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you on the next show.
Whether you are a brand new agent or you're experienced, having accountability and a coaching partner that can push you beyond your comfort zone is absolutely paramount when you're growing a business. I've been in the Tom Ferry ecosystem for 5 years, and I can confidently say that over that time frame, my business has grown far more than it would have without. It's about the people, the systems, the structure, the accountability, and the ability to push yourself beyond what is comfortable. I highly encourage you to take a look at the Tom Ferry ecosystem. You won't regret it.
Hey, welcome back to the Revenue Rainmaker, where we unpack the very best agents, what their secrets are to skyrocket sales in 2025. I've got Dee Martin. You and I had the 100 listing challenge. She won a $10,000 bet, listed 100 houses, more than 100 houses.
109.
In 10 months, kind of from the elite to the summit.
During COVID,
ladies and gentlemen. So we got a legend here. So Dee, this year, 98 transactions, $30 million in volume. You built a small team, right? You've gotten hyper-focused. You're way up over last year in terms of revenue and profitability. What is the thing you are focused on in 2025 to skyrocket sales?
In 2025, our team is focused on video, YouTube. Our director of marketing and operations is Rachel. So Rachel is all about Jason Pantana. She has been following all of his stuff. She's done his extra stuff. She's doing all the things. Yep. So that is going to be our big focus this year.
So we were chatting off camera how you started the initiative that we talked about years ago with your Google business page. And it sounds like this is like we talk about land and expand, like you do something that works and then expand on it. So help the listener understand, what were the first things you did with the Google business page? And then what is your expectation from YouTube, and what are you going to do?
Well, okay. So in 2019, you told us, hey, Google's the thing. So we listened. And so we have just asked our clients for reviews consistently. And we've done that. So in our market, we're a little baby team. Like right now we have a brand new agent. So there's 4 of us.
Yes.
Now we're heavy on the back end. We have a lot of staff, but for our size. But so we're this little bitty team, and we have the second most number of reviews in our market.
Love it.
And we've got people that are coming, but we're consistently asking for those reviews, and it's made a huge difference.
Yes.
And so literally our phone rings. And I had a lady this week who used to be a broker. She's moving from Minnesota, called me and said, hey, I found you on YouTube. And I was like,
Tell
YouTube?
me more about that. Yes. I'm on YouTube?
I was like, yeah, right. I got people that do that stuff.
Yes,
But so we're on there a little bit, but we have not really like doubled down on it and really like focused on that. And so literally this year, that is what we're going to try to do. Now, Kilton on my team, he's a new agent. We are hoping he's going to be Rookie of the Year in our market. He's awesome. He is killing it with video. And so we're going to take his stuff. We're going to take my stuff. We're going to try to make the analytical Jonathan do some things and the new Ashley do some things. And, but yeah, we're going to really spend some time like being consistent, creating content, and giving good information to our clients.
So have you come up with the content strategy, or is it more, I can see an entire marketing
I
plan.
literally have a marketing plan that Rachel put together. She's amazing.
Yes.
And I'm going to tell you, that summit where we won the bet and, all that, went to lunch with my coach. She had a coaching friend with her. I don't even know who he is. It's a guy from California. Sat down at the table with us at lunch and said, tell me about your business. And so basically left there and said, you need a director of marketing. You need somebody to do some of these things. We went back, hired Rachel. She's been with us, and she's just, helped us do all these things. So it's amazing. But yes, this is our marketing plan. So literally she has stuff for every month.
Let me take a quick peek.
For us to do different things.
January 2025, YouTube content, create content outline for the first 8 videos, right? Script and prep for 4 videos, film and edit, right? So she's detailed,
out yes.
everything that has to happen, plus your past client drips, your lead source drips. Could we take this and share this in the video? I just put the pressure
I have to ask Rachel, but probably. I don't know what else is in there. But all the marketing stuff, absolutely.
So what's beautiful is, and I bet she went into Tom AI or some combination of ChatGPT and said,
she's all about it.
Plan using ABC 1, 2, 3, and the whole thing is flushed out.
She's using all of that. Yes.
So I want to put you on the spot. How are you coming up with the right content strategy? And if you don't have it, let me give it to you.
Okay.
What's the right content strategy for YouTube in 2025? What are you thinking about?
Well, what we're really hoping is just to put who we are out there because, you're going to draw your tribe, right? Attract your tribe. So, I'm going to just give information. We're going to educate people. We're going to tell people about our market. We're going to, we're going to put our houses and stuff on there that we're listing, of course, too. But we're going to try to just give value to anybody who's looking and draw them to our area.
You want to hear a secret?
Yeah, sure.
Answerthepublic.com.
Okay.
You got to go paid. So Answer the Public scrapes the entire internet for every possible question that consumers are asking. You will take just 3 keywords, selling your home, and you'll hit a button and it literally will tell you here's what's great, Google, YouTube, Bing, and they just added 3 days ago, Instagram. And what you're now going to get is every variation of a search question that a consumer would write about selling your home.
Okay.
Jason Pantana, no surprise, has a 2-page document of the prompt you want to use.
I think Rachel's been using that.
I can't wait.
She does all the things. I just take orders. I just go,
I just
okay,
go on
Rachel, what do you want me to do? Let's do it.
So I want to just finish for my friend listening, and I know we'll unpack this in detail tomorrow. The key is that you could take that keyword question that we know people are searching for, you drop it into ChatGPT or Tom AI and you say, write me a 4-paragraph, 5-paragraph blog, but you've got to say, fill in Dee Martin, fill in our city, fill in, our county, and then all the details, the keywords that you want, it writes it for you. And then you start publishing 2 to 3 blogs every week on your website, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, the text, and then you, Smarty Pants, you do the same thing on video, land and expand.
Cool.
You will, the people that are already doing it are like, I'm getting 3-4 come list me calls because you're answering the question that's on the mind of the customer in their exact. And I bet Rachel's doing this.
I'm sure she is. She's been in
Jason's
Jason's, all his extra
Yes.
courses, all the things. So yeah.
So how are you going to scale you? Because you're already so darn busy. I mean, that year you took 109 listings. You
Yeah.
were working your face off.
Yeah, and it was a hard year with a lot of other things, and
Yes.
so it was one of those deals where like the next year I was pretty tired,
Yeah.
and then last year kind of we went into it going, okay, we know rates are going to be high, it's going to be a little bit slower. I'm going to be okay with that,
Yeah.
and so I did 47 last year myself, which is still a lot, but I was
Yes.
I was still like. I could have a little bit of a life, you know?
Yeah.
And so what I'm thinking is that it's funny because last night, Jonathan and I were at dinner and I said, you know, we're doing really well. I figured out how not to work all weekend, not work in the evenings. I mean, here's what
Right.
our money is looking like. We're doing pretty good, right? And then I go, but what if I were to become Edna Kimball?
Right.
And then you come in here today and you start talking about
Edna.
stuff in your world that
Right.
you're being
Right.
like, yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh my goodness, like, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know how I want to grow, but I mean, I am adding to my team. So my team coach is amazing. It's Marie Gomer.
Yeah.
And so she is helping us. So I have just added a new agent. So we have 4 of us now. And we did, those numbers last year with 3. And then I'm still kind of interviewing. I'm going to talk to the college. So, I mean, I want to grow my team, but just a tiny bit. I don't want to be a big team.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that. We went
Yeah.
through the whole team dynamics today of large versus small. And some people will love this and some people won't. The small teams seem to have a propensity to have higher profitability, right?
Yes.
And the question is, it's because of the big teams, it's because they're buying a ton of leads, right? To fill their team. Like there's all that, but all
Yeah.
that aside, what matters most is you are doing fantastic.
Thank you.
So for the person listening, it sounds like if you're not adding consistent reviews to your Google page, that's step
Do
one.
it.
Step 2 is you need to put out a lot of content on YouTube because that 1-2 punch is a wicked combination to scale your business in 2025.
That's the plan.
So Dee, if somebody's got a question they want to reach out, maybe they're going to ask, how in the world did you list 109 houses as a solo agent like by yourself? Can they reach out to you on Instagram?
Absolutely.
Love it. All right.
Yep.
So you heard it here. So the question is, what are you going to do? What's going to be your one focus for 2025? Because the streets are going to be paved with gold. And if you don't go sweep it up, someone else will. Think about that. We'll see you on the next show. Hey, welcome back to the Revenue Rainmakers show, where we unpack the very best agents, their secrets to skyrocket sales in 2025. So I've got Blake Davenport with me. Check this out. 155 transactions this year, call it $108 million in volume. Fun fact, got involved with us 5 years ago. How many transactions were you doing then?
10 transactions, 6 million.
So 10 transactions, 6 million. That's been a pretty nice run. So we were chatting offline before we started this. So Blake, tell them the marketplace you serve.
Washington, D.C., specifically Arlington, Virginia, Alexandria, Virginia, just outside D.C.
Love it. Love it. And as a fellow ginger, yes, there was a time when I actually had red hair.
Yes.
So Blake, we talk so much about like narrowing our focus. So what's the focus for you and this incredible little team that you built? What's the focus for 2025 to scale the business?
Honestly, we're just going to focus on getting 5% better for every quarter. If we can do that, we're just going to crush it. Because I think so many people focus on how can I add this lead source and that lead source. If they could just analyze their business, track their numbers, and understand what is the 80% of the results that, 20%, I should say it again, the 20% that actually drives the 80%, and then just focus on improving that 20%, they'd be so much further ahead. And that's where we're starting to do that. And I really think it's going to increase our PPP.
So if you look at like just the concept of the compound effect, a 5% increase quarter over quarter is not going to get you a 20% improvement. It's going to be exponentially more than that.
Yeah.
So break down for us, like if in your head, looking at the business, what are some of the things you're looking to make improvements on in order to get that 5% lift quarter over quarter?
Yeah, I mean, I've changed my way of thinking on this. to look for the opportunities, because I used to be very negative. Where are we
screwing up?
Yeah. And again, it all starts with tracking. So from tracking our numbers and really understanding our numbers, one of the elements that we were really looking at is our teams. I was so focused on setting appointments, and they were setting appointments, but then they weren't having many closed transactions. And I think the team was just setting appointments because that was the goal, versus at the end of the day, the goal is closed transactions. So they were setting the appointments. So what's next? Okay, they have the buyer chat or the presentation. Okay, well, why are they not getting signed agreements? And then just if we can improve that, we focus on trainings for that. And then having the staff, we meet weekly with the staff and having KPIs. One of our quarterly rocks, we follow traction, is basically just to improve that conversion ratio. And I think just by tracking it, focusing on it, we're going to hit it and go through the roof with that.
So I love the simplicity. And for the person listening, if you think about, setting quarterly goals, rather 12-week year traction, there's so many of these programs that say, look at everything in 90-day increments and how much you can accomplish. So you mentioned track and measure. Was that a normal discipline for you? For maybe the person watching right now, they're like, I track and measure. Like, I occasionally look at how much money I have in my checking account. Yeah. But I think you're talking about a little more detailed track and measure. So where do they get started?
Well, where do you get started? I think first you need to understand the vision. I think that, honestly, a year and a half ago, we didn't really know where we were going. And until we knew where we were going, like you had us do the exercise today, unless you know where you're going, you don't even know where to start. Right. So like you said at the very beginning, start with cash flow, because that was the last thing, because then you work backwards. And I think from that standpoint, it just really, actually, you have to get everybody on the same page. Yes. And the mistake that we made for so long, all the numbers were in my mind. And even I didn't know exactly where we were going, but until we put it on paper and then the staff and the agents could see where we were going, and every single week they were tracking it and they were like, wow, we didn't do very well, or this is not working, we need to change, is where like I've realized that you can't do it all yourself. You have to, build other people up, and they will build everybody up, or whatever, the water raises the ship or something like that.
Yes.
Phrase.
So you're 33 years old. You built this monster business in a very short amount of time. And I know you could say, I'm nowhere near, I'm just getting started.
Yes.
But for the person listening, you're exactly right. If you know what it is you're building, like you don't say, hey, I want a house, build me one. You're like, no, we need to. What kind of house do you want? How many bedrooms do you want? Like, you're painting the vision so everybody on the team understands it. Then it's easier to execute. But back to the question of tracking. So once you have the vision, are you talking about tracking every agent, how many leads, how many calls, how many appointments, what conversion is at that level? Or is it something different?
No, I would agree with that. I think it's that, and maybe even more. I think first you need to understand, what is it actually that's moving the needle? And like one of the elements that I think, and this kind of goes with the tracking and everything that you just said, that I just don't understand. I was even listening to some of the breakout sessions where people were saying that they script once a week. And like, these are some of the top teams in the country. We do it every day. Yes. Because at the end of the day, and this is why I believe we're going to get to where we need to, because if I can just make each agent better at speaking and their ability to, convince people and share why them and why us, I'm able to take 22-year-olds and they can make $150,000 a year into doing this, where most agents sell 3 houses, if that.
So even the discipline of just routine, like 5% increase isn't just tracking. 5% increase is a lot of things. Yeah. But what I love is, for the person listening, it's what a simple goal to say, I'm just focusing on increasing our performance as a team by 5% every quarter. And that's everything. That's listing taken, listing sold, buyer sales, volume, transactions, the whole 9 yards. Yes or no?
No. Strictly from the fact that the old me would have said yes. The new me is, I can't do everything. We have to pick one thing. Like, we have a couple different areas where we're literally just trying to improve 5%, 10%, 20% in those areas, because we feel like those are the areas where the biggest opportunity that could affect profitability. ultimately, yes, we want to lift up every stat, but I think we have to focus, and that's where, again, my mind, ADHD, I start every book and then I kind of go to the next book. Yeah. And I think that's where it just needs to simplify the process and what can we do? And if we can just move the needle, and this is why it's stupid, but like if it's literally 5%, if you just did that every quarter, we'd all be a lot further ahead than we are, versus we're focused on getting to that place, but we don't exactly know what gets it there. And then we just kind of end up in the same place, frustrated.
I love it. I love the simplicity. 5% improvement, quarter over quarter, compound effect. I mean, it's every book we've ever read, Slight Edge, Compound Effect, on and on, that just say, focus on some fundamentals, increase your performance there, get better. Everybody on the team gets better, and you win. Yeah. I love it, man. Hold back your enthusiasm, Blake.
No, it's just, I know it's not sexy by any means, but it's what everybody needs to hear. Because at the end of the day, it's what works. And
that's it.
Yeah, no, it really, really is.
Simplicity.
Yeah.
So he's going to increase his production by 5% per quarter by helping everybody just get a little bit better over and over again. What are you going to do for 2025? Make sure you follow Blake Davenport on Instagram, where you can find him. This guy does a lot of business and is clearly a very smart guy. Yeah. Thank you so much for being on the show. Hey, give us your comments. Let us know what you're going to do, and we'll see you on the next show. Take care.